You can buy them from Mitch, and you also get a healthy dose of the best advice on the planet. Welcome to the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie G, master of timely detonation. And I'm here with my co-host, Magnum Mills, and we're going to cover season 3 of Barry, dude. Like the entire season 3 of Barry.
Las Aquilas.
Yes, we are. We're here to break down season 3. Thank you for checking out the Barry Podcast. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the good ones, wherever you get your pods. If you're not subscribed, please do so. We're on social media at Barry Podcast, and you can find our YouTube channel by going to joeblowfootballshow.com. This is it, man. I'm Magnum Mills with Jamie G to do season 3.
And do it we will. Please remember, we will. That's right. We will be spoiling literally everything that could possibly be spoiled about Barry. This is your first and final warning. If you have not watched Barry, like season 1, go ahead and stop this podcast, save it, like it, come back to it, but go ahead and watch season 1, season 2, season 3, then give us a listen.
Yeah, and if you're here for like Barry White or Barry Manilow, you're also going to be disappointed. This is just the HBO show, Barry. We're not just talking about berries in general, even, shout out Barry Sanders. I'd love to talk to you. Maybe we could bring that into the conversation, how they're moving forward with Beverly Hills Cop 4 over at Netflix, but that's a story for another day. What we are going to talk about are the major character arcs and plot lines from season 3 of Barry to start out with here.
And man, oh man, let's talk about Sally. That's right, sneaking Sally through the alley. Within this season, she hit the highest of the highs, but unfortunately the lowest of the lows. She went from being in a relationship with Barry and having her own hit show to be kind of just left to be a writer on a shitty show and having no relationship whatsoever. She literally gives up. She heads back home at the end of the season. How do we feel about Sally's arc here? I mean, it was there was a lot of curvature, was it not, to this arc? A lot of curving?
Yeah, it was not a flat earth situation. There was definitely a globe thing going on. I think it makes sense that she, in the end, winds up going home to Joplin. It does seem that, while she has been a victim of abuse and everything, there are certainly some underlying issues there that really need to be dealt with. And you saw that when she had her success, she was definitely working hard and everything, but she didn't necessarily treat everyone, say like Natalie, very well. I think the show did a nice job, but they kept us rooting for Sally while also showing like, yeah, just she might not be that, good of a person. Maybe comparatively to Barry, who kills people, she's not that bad. But, I guess everybody on the show except maybe Mitch and Faye is kind of evil on some level, but you really rooted for Sally despite all that. And I just think it's kind of wild. Like, remember her at that premiere screaming 90 fucking 8 and fuck Pam. And then she's in the elevator with Natalie, and then her agent's firing her, and then she's getting on that plane. And I mean, talk about peaks and valleys, baby. It was a roller coaster ride, to say the least, for Sally this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was Mickey Manic all the way. I mean, this was high and low. The one thing that I think that we learned about it, didn't it just feel like Sally had to go back to Joplin? Like she needed to find something in like her, adventure to find herself, basically. And she had to head back home to find out, who am I? What do I want? What am I doing? I think everything she thought she was kind of crumbled in front of her. And she was left kind of wondering, what do I do now? So what better ace in your pocket than be like, let me start where it all began. So I'm really excited with what they do with Sally going forward. Huge talent for this show. Her story and her character has been great so far. I like that they left it with this big kind of like, oh shit. I mean, theoretically, she could be done with the show and never be seen from, or they could develop her character even deeper. So I'm hoping for the latter there, Magnum Mills. But I thought this really showcased both her skill set as an actress, but also kind of building herself up to this fake image of what she thought she was, and then realizing that none of it was real and having to start back from ground zero, which, is there anything more fucking Hollywood than that?
It really is, right? Like you feel like now she's going to make a show about her comeback that's making a show. I mean, they could go that meta, I suppose. Yeah, again, she's definitely talented and definitely worked hard and everything, but you could just see that, there was a real disconnect kind of with the way she saw herself, or what I remember her when she's screaming with Lindsay about how like she is the show. And at one point she's even defensive to Natalie about her daughter on the show. She doesn't even have a daughter. Like she gets mad at Natalie for having a fake daughter when she also has a fake daughter. You definitely have to feel that she was telling herself some kind of story in her head to kind of get her in that mind state. And let's just kind of stay right there and just talk about Natalie and Lindsay real quick here, because they were kind of basically just in Sally's orbit for that plot, the Banshee stuff and everything like that. Any particular thoughts on either one, especially Natalie, who wound up playing a pretty major role this season?
I like the development of Natalie. I think you actually might have called this a little bit in predictions somewhere down the road of Barry podcast when we were working through season 3, where you kind of see Sally treating her like basically like an indentured servant, so to speak. And then that came, and it was almost like, okay, that has to come full circle, and it did. And now here she is, kind of, as Sally's like really aggressively in her face in the elevator, and she's kind of like bitching at her about, like, you don't even have well, Sally, neither do you. And it was kind of like this moment, right? And so it was neat to kind of see it reverse. I like that they did with her. I thought both her and Lindsay's character played a really important role in kind of this up and down, kind of like living the life, but that's actually not the life, and then a demise of Sally, which we got all in one season, which is kind of crazy. She'd been working towards this in seasons 1 and 2, but we saw Sally just become a superstar, and then, like, Hollywood's most she's gone. Like, it's not even, she's on a plane back to Joplin, like questioning her life choices. Like, that's what that town will do to you, baby. It's tough.
Yeah, and I love Natalie, and shout out Darcy Carden, actress. I just thought that was phenomenally well done. And you get the idea that she never betrayed Sally, but she was also still trying to, like, when she's in there at that Banshee meeting and they're telling Sally what went wrong with her show, she's writing all those notes and then she builds a show around what the algorithm likes. That's not really backstabbing. That's smart. If Joplin had kept going, I didn't get the impression she was just going to quit or sabotage Sally or something like that. So I'd say Natalie comes out looking about as well as just about anybody does. Although, again, you could argue, like, when she films Sally in the elevator and releases it, that was probably a business move, really. Nothing personal, but. And then that caused Lindsay to quit. I don't know if we'll see her again. Maybe the show brings her back around. If not, I'll miss her. She wasn't, she kind of just got some bits here and there, but she was always funny. I still remember the bit outside of Mitch's when someone, like, tries to grab the beignet and she's like, just like, get off my beignets. She always had a couple good just one-liners and answers, and I really actually enjoyed the Banshee plot overall. I thought that was kind of interesting what they had to say about streaming and everything like that, especially the meetings with the executive, as I referenced before. I think that meeting was just both hysterical and had something to say kind of about, especially the cycle we're seeing now where these streamers are just, throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Let's start with one of our favorites and talk about NoHo Hank, his arc and his relationship with Cristobal. There was a lot of development here this season with NoHo Hank, wasn't there? Like, we kind of got this interesting personal side that's been festering and building. I thought this was really fucking cool, and it added a softness to the show that it desperately needed, because this was a very, very dark season in what is an incredibly dark show.
Yeah, you get the idea that in the end, maybe, these guys are in theoretical good places and that they're both are kind of by default now on top of their organizations and they're together again. But you saw in that kind of last scene of them and they're having the embrace, and they both kind of have this kind of look in their eyes and on their faces of, like, they're happy to be there, but on the other hand, they have a lot of other stuff kind of that they're going to have to work through. So I'm really curious as to where they're going to go with that. And yeah, NoHo Hank was one of the few just sources we could bank on for comedy in season 3. That was huge. And all the supporting guys on the Chechen side, especially Batir, all those guys were great. I feel bad we had to lose most of them. Batir is still out there somewhere, but other than that, I think we're going to have to replace Yandar and the other bull. So sorry about that. But I, again, really enjoyed everything with that. And Cristobal is going to be pretty screwed up. It wouldn't surprise me now if they bring maybe he has a daughter, I think, right? Maybe they bring her into the mix now with Elena and the grandfather out of, like, who's left, right? So now
Yeah.
maybe NoHo Hank and Cristobal now have to deal with a kid or something. That I feel like there's some potential there, maybe. Overall, I really, enjoyed them together, both of their plot lines this season. Again, there was a lot of the other humor came on the, with Fernando and Las Aquilas and everything like that. This is our, this is really, if we want to get some humor out of Barry, this seemed to be where it had to come from for the most part in season 3. So I don't want them to take that fully away. I'm okay with them maybe get more into the business, like, Hank at the end, he's finally pulling the trigger himself and everything like that, right? So maybe this is going to lead to him taking more charge on the business side instead of just playing hooky and letting Batir do everything. We'll see how it goes, but I'm there for it. I want him to keep it a little light, a little humorous, a little hopeful still. I don't want him to take, NoHo Hank's one of the few that's like not, in jail right now. So let's keep it that way.
100%. Can't wait to see it, dude. You're telling me NoHo Hank and Cristobal trying to raise a teenager wouldn't be a fun family to follow? I'm there for that. Hope they do. And Mills, I know that we're not properly dressed for this because in order to do this, you would have to literally wear 3 or 4 different generations in one outfit, decade by decade. But despite all that, it's Gene time, baby. That's right. Gene Cousineau. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about Gene Cousineau. This season, season 3 of Barry, he started the season desperate for revenge, and Barry basically had no, he and Barry had no career prospects whatsoever. He ended the season with excellent career prospects, and he helped send Barry to jail, ultimately getting the revenge and justice he probably needed, but buried. Thoughts on the Gene of it all here, Mills?
I would say, spoiler alert a little bit here, that I think Gene is probably the ultimate winner of the season, like you just said, right? At the beginning, he has no job prospects, wants to get revenge on Barry. At the end of the season, he's gotten revenge on Barry, and he's got lots of job prospects. He's got money. His kid, seems to be in a better place. There may be some underlying issues here. I don't know that he's really happy. I think it goes back to that dinner with Joe Montana, and you hear Annie tell him that I don't think you're really apologizing for us. You're just saying that so you don't have to feel bad anymore. And I think that's kind of it. You get also the conversation at the beginning of the season where it comes from forgiving Jeff, and Barry tells him forgiveness needs to be earned. And he says, well, then fucking earn it. Is he really earning it, I guess? So I kind of wonder if it's going to be one of those things where we get to season 4 and we see him kind of riding high or whatever, but like the better he does, it's just diminishing returns. He just is less and less happy no matter what he does. So I think that's the real issue with Gene. Is this like, is he really like, what, like he kind of like, does the inside match the outside, so to speak? Does he feel as good on the inside as he's trying to project on the outside? I think the answer is probably no.
No matter what happened with Barry, whether Barry went to jail or Barry kind of figured out a way to like pay his penance to Gene and like earn his way back into being like forgiven, so to speak. No matter what, I don't think Gene Cousineau is going to be okay with it. This is a thing that is deeply affected the man. He's one where it's like we also kind of see his swing similar to Sally's in a way that he started the season the lowest of the low and ends it theoretically the highest of the high. But is he really happy? I don't know. I don't know that he's any happier now on the high than he was at the low. And for Sally, I think you could maybe say the same thing. So it's really interesting how you kind of see that. And I think overall, it's basically those examples are a microcosm of just LA and Hollywood life in general, which this show has done a great job of kind of showcasing some of the bittersweet, so to speak. And like it's not all glitz and glamour, baby. That's for sure. So again, it's a funny, dark show, but I think there's a little bit more to some of these characters, and we're seeing that with Gene.
And it wasn't nearly to the degree as NoHo Hank, but we did see Gene give us some good laughs here, especially early in the season. As it went deeper in, they were kind of less, but I still love the part when he's running away from the dogs and everything. And that whole second episode when he's in the trunk, everything like that. I thought he still did have some good humor moments. And some of them came with some of the people in his orbit. We got to meet his agent, Tom. We hung out with Joe Montana. And then obviously we already talked a little bit about Annie. Anything else on Gene or kind of the assorted characters here? Because I do have to say, like, I think we could have 4 or 5 times as much Tom probably. Would that be cool with you? Can Tom basically become damn near a main character?
I would love Tom to be a highlighted feature who we see regularly. I thought Joe Mantegna was fantastic, and it tied in kind of the true Hollywood story of Gene Cousineau. Anytime we got a story about Gene in his past when he was like the raging dick that he was, it was fantastic. Again, the humor was needed, and they planted some seeds kind of with the future might come with Annie. I think there's more to that than what meets the eye initially here. But dude, the other thing is Gene's family. We kind of got that soft spot with Gene. It's not just his love for he kind of reconnected a little bit with his family and his lack of being a father. And they've been toying with that for the first, previously kind of in season 2. We got that a little bit more this time. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Absolutely, totally agree with that. And I do have to say, being invited to dinner at Joe Mantegna's is probably on my bucket list now. I got to really work on that, so I hope he remains in good health so the window stays open. But I am definitely there for dinner at Joey M's one night.
We're down. Just invite
Holla
us,
at
Joe.
us,
We're
holla
there.
at us, Joe. We're here. We're waiting, man. I'll bring some good vino and everything, buddy.
At the Barry Podcast, you can get us. That brings us to the man with the Panther pack, Monroe Fuchs himself. Dude literally started the season out in the mountains of Chechnya. Then he fell in love and became master of goats. He followed that up by returning home, forming an army of vengeance panthers that led him to get shot and fall in love again before finally winding up behind bars. Hell of a season for Fuchsy, am I right?
It really was, man. And I feel bad that he didn't get a lot of chances to interact with most of the rest of the main cast except on the phone. I did like how it all worked out at the end, especially again, the idea that this dude just keeps falling ass backwards into love with these beautiful young women, and it can't satiate that need to just, he can't even see Barry doing good, right? It's all good. And then he just sees the thing about the Variety article in the paper, and he can't let sleeping dogs lie. And multiple times this season, it looks like he's going to, and he gets all these outs, and he's like, nope, nope, nope. I think he deserves it. It makes sense for the most part, but you have to feel right. Like, this is the idea here is now we're going to get Fuchs and Barry back together. Like, they're going to make up for the lack of time together recently by probably being together a lot, I'm assuming, because I'm guessing they're going to be in the same jail, right? It would be kind of odd to put them both in jail, not have them together. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I just have to say, I think Fuchs is probably in the wrong line of work. He was so good at recruiting people to kill other people and also just pulling young, beautiful women. Either of those two things could probably lead to a better career than, kind of being a glorified secretary for a hitman. Just saying.
The acting here is top notch. This show is underrated in how great some of the entertainers are. And Monroe Fuchs is this Steven. I mean, he is on point with this dude. I mean, the eye work, the face work, saying something without saying something, all his scenes fucking crushed. He just happened to kind of be on an island a little bit by himself for most of the season. We see him with Jim later in the season, but I'm excited for heading into season 4, getting more Barry Fuchs. I think that's been building. They did a good job with it. Looking forward to that, Magnum Mills, whether it's in jail or anywhere else.
I mean, that's where you end up on Barry, right? It's almost like a Tupac album. You're either going to wind up dead or in jail, dude. And anything else on Fuchs, or do you think that about wraps it up?
I think that's it. I mean, I guess just,
have we recovered from the death fake out? I think that was the low point of his entire plot arc. But you can't really blame that on him or the actor or whatever. I just think that was a really interesting decision that they made, and it's probably going to be one of those things like the spin-off kid that doesn't work, so he just goes upstairs and never comes back down again. Like, I don't think we're ever going to talk about that near-death experience again.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's basically, yeah, we probably shouldn't have had him shot point blank range in the heart and then like walking and back to normal within like 6 hours. That might not have worked as good as we wanted it to.
Yeah, I got a feeling there was a little bit of a rewrite there.
That brings us to the big one, the double B's, Barry Berkman. Let's be honest here. He was basically a hot damn mess from the start to the finish of this season. What do you think of Barry's arc this season? And just, could he have been more of a shit show?
I mean, probably not. I do think that he picked such a good stage name. Like, it's not quite being a lawyer, the laws of humanity named Humanity, but he could have guest starred on that show to be like Barry Berkman. He could have just used his real name because I feel that would have fit right in with the whole laws of humanity motif. I really think overall the character arc he went through makes a lot of sense. I think some of the plot machinations that happened make zero sense. Again, this was a little bit of a COVID thing. They had to rewrite a lot of the season. I get it. You just have to kind of roll with it. And I think the important part is, does it make sense, where he is, like in his mind from where he starts the season and where he ends up? I think that all makes sense, even if, maybe they kind of skip to, point A through point G while going through points X, Q, and S as well somehow.
Again, putting all that aside, the kind of yada yada yadas and things that don't really make a lot of sense. His like being poisoned, but then living, like there was a lot of moments here where it was kind of like, but I like where he went. When we started the season, it was like Sally was doing anything for his love and saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. And he never said it back. He just ignored her. And then we end the season where he's trying to get Sally's love. That was one kind of dynamic that really struck me. But not only was he trying to get Sally's love, he actually prioritized making amends with Jean over that. It's like he kind of gave up on his hopes and dreams of being an actor, even though he found work. It wasn't about that. So it's kind of like he's so desperately trying to cling on to anything to give him purpose. And it just fantastic job kind of all, but is going to jail for this going to be purpose? That's what's going to be.
So that kind of makes sense here. Let's just talk about that for a minute. Do you like the fact that they put Barry in jail to the end of at the end of the season? Like, you kind of saw the show, they got rid of the acting class. That seemed to work. Now they're doing a whole different thing. Do you have faith that the show is going to pull this off, or do you think that they're going to walk it back real quick when we get into next season?
I don't know that we go more than one episode with Barry in jail. I think they're going to walk it back, but I do like that they ended there. And I think they did a really good job of kind of creating options in intrigue for viewers, but I don't know that they're going to keep Barry in jail for like, I don't think it's going to be like a jail season or anything. I don't see that, but I'm fine with it. And I trust the show, bro. Like they have earned the right for me over the last 3 seasons.
I mean, you got to remember, Sally killed somebody. Maybe she could end up in jail too. They could do a jail show. I have this weird feeling that like Barry's gonna get a lawyer and like maybe it looks good or whatever, but Barry finds himself like really comfortable in jail and he's just like teaching an acting class to the inmates and he's just kind of loving it and he's just like, oh, I'm good now. You know what I mean? Like, how he gets just kind of like whatever. Oh, like I'm doing this now and everything is fine. Like he's just like, oh yeah, jail's fine. Jail's actually super cool. I'm teaching an acting class. It's pretty awesome. I'm like Mr. Kusa now.
I mean, I could do what's great about this
I'm
show.
saying half the season. We're not doing predictions, but I'm saying that he's in jail for at least half the season. I mean, I you think there's a chance he never gets out of jail for the rest of the run of the show? Do you think that's even possible?
No, I mean, it's possible, but I don't see that happen. I mean, but that's what makes it a great show. The fact that it's like, you might be able to convince me, but I'm going to say no.
I think he could do it. I'm not sure if he could run an underground Cinnabon in the jail or not. That takes a special set of skills, maybe a particular set of skills.
That's a different kind of gene.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a different kind of gene and a different kind of jail. And how about Barry and Sally? Do you want the show to even attempt to like have them reconcile the relationship in a romantic way?
Mills, the thing about Jamie G is, on top of being Jamie G. Esquire the Fifth, MD, Master of Surgical Arts, I've accomplished a lot. But deep down inside, I'm a romantic. So yes, I do want to see them try to rekindle this. I want them to be whole for each other. And I think they could be a great couple and each have happiness if they were each fixed before becoming a couple. And that's my goal. I would love that. I'm a sucker for a happy ending. What can I say? And so I'm rooting for him, bud. I'm rooting for him.
I feel like that if they get back together, it's going to be like a Joker and Harley Quinn type of situation. I don't think it's going to be a good thing. I mean, maybe they go out that way. They do a little Mickey and Mallory thing or something. Who knows? But I get the feeling that they're kind of a little bit, toxic for each other. to a certain degree. I don't mind them reconciling on like a personal level and having some forgiveness or whatever. But what I don't want to do is have the show go through a big, like, will they or won't they, or a courting process all next season or something and drag it out. They've never really done that before. I don't think they would, but I don't think either character needs that. I think they can both stay on the show. I mean, I'm actually, if they want to just follow Sally down in Joplin for the whole year, I'll roll with it. They'll have to have a couple decent characters down there. It can't just be her, but I'm willing to roll with that. I mean, we basically saw them do it with Fuchs this year. They siloed a lot of the characters really off on their own island. So, I don't think they need to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no need for the show to have to feel like they, these characters have to get back together.
Agreed. Love it.
All right. And before we hand out the hardware, anything else here? How about some of like the little stuff that we really love this season? Obviously we've talked about, Detonate, you got Las Aquilas, you got Mitch. Any thoughts at all on just kind of like the smaller stuff, which is often, one of the bigger sources of humor this season?
They did fantastic with the little things, right? The Detonate app, Mitch, the beignets. I even thought like little stuff like the roommates from years past where Barry has to go back. It was like a little thing, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious that they replaced his room with a recording studio slash, quasi like creative environment. And he was reduced to like this tiny little strip on the floor. I thought that was a fun, kind of rehash, bringing them back in. So they did a great job with the little stuff this season. And it was like, I don't know, dude, there could be a whole show on Detonate. Am I wrong? Like, could Mitch not have like a show? They did a fantastic job bringing these things in. The bike riders, like that was a whole thing with Fuchs, and we saw like a legendary chase with Barry and them. I mean, they did a good job of bringing in these little things that turned out to be like made maybe my episode, maybe one or two of my episodes, my favorite two episodes, because of these small little side things.
No, yeah, I love like the Limonada girls. Fernando was great. Even Elena in her little bit. Like even at the end when they're torturing Cristobal and she's got like the dancing stripper who can also play the piano like on cue or whatever. When they went over the top, they really went over the top. Shout out the Panther that NoHo Hank killed that we never saw. I did actually enjoy the biker gang. Like, what kind of asshole wouldn't put a hot tub there, right? The plot with them never made any sense, but they were like kind of weird and cool. Like they barely talked and they were real threatening. And I like the biker gang, even though I didn't really agree with the plot, kind of how that worked out with them. And, shout out Fuchs's women, dude. They all seemed very great and awesome and cool. And I'm very mad that he left them both in the lurch.
Bro, the guy had two beautiful women younger than him that were way too good for him, wanting to like accept him and marry him. That's nuts. You know how many people live their life and can't even find one of them? Wow.
He really didn't appreciate it. I mean, and he was a master of goats too. He was the goat of goats.
He was the goat of goats, dude. He was goat of goats. Like, he's the goat of all time, dude.
Pretty wild. And before we move on, just because you didn't mention it here, give me your best Las Aquilas. I can't even do that. My voice doesn't go to that. If I went to it hurts. Yeah, that's what happened. If I try to.
Oh yeah, you got to clear it out.
I cannot get to that octave anymore, man. That's like when you get too old, you can't hear the certain frequencies or whatever.
Well, we certainly could. And Mills, I think we've come to the time here to discuss our favorite moments from season 3. For your viewing and listening pleasure, we rank them at least 15 of our favorite scenes or moments from the season, and then did the math. We averaged our responses to come up with our absolute clear-cut favorites for you.
And there really were some good ones. There were a lot of tremendous scenes in this season. We actually have a pretty clear top 5, but we'll start with a couple of honorable mentions. First, we have the scene where Batir shows up at Plants with the bomb he purchased on the dark web. This is from Ben Mendelsohn. I had this at number 16. Jamie G had it at number 4.
What's that?
I bought the bomb on dark web.
Jesus Christ! Bro, what the fuck did you do that for?
We use this to blow up Cristobal's house.
No. You want Fernando dead, okay?
Just blow up the fucking house. Good luck, Akmal.
What? What the fuck does it have to be me? Can't we draw straws?
Who are you? Bruce Willis in Armageddon?
I don't want to do this. This is crazy.
I know someone crazy.
I also want to shout out the scene where we see Barry walk through a crowd of his victims on the beach before waking up in the hospital. I had that one at 21. Jamie G, you had it at number 1. That was your favorite scene. Why was that your favorite scene of the season?
So for me, Magnum Mills, when I watched the scene with Barry kind of walking through the crowd of victims at the beach before ultimately he wakes up, I just enjoyed the production surrounding this, the visual effects, kind of the big meaning. It's been done before. It's not like they reinvented the wheel here. The guy walks on the beach and kind of sees, you know, the people that he's responsible for killing or whatever. But I thought it was done so well. And again, super dark show, but this was a really kind of creative moment for me that stood out as I think about this season and just the depth of darkness that it went to for Barry, and ultimately what I hope will make Barry a better person as we head into season 4.
Yeah, it was definitely a good kind of near death scene. We've gotten various versions of those, especially on HBO, on The Sopranos, even kind of variations on this. I thought it was really cool, and then it sets up the scene in the finale, I believe, where he's back on the beach and then he sees Sally and Jean there. So I think it was a very important scene. Makes sense why it could be number 1. Let's get into the top 5 here. We had a tie at number 5. First up, we have the bike chase from 710N. You had that at 10. I had it at 9. I don't think you need to say a lot other than it's pretty easily the best action sequence the show has done. I thought it was really great, especially down at the end when the bull tries to do the handoff with the gun. I do not agree that these people would not have been in trouble with the police after all of this, but I thought it was really cool. Well shot, well done. In the tie for 5, we also have the scene where Gene escapes and he's chased by a pack of dogs. This one's from Limonada. You did not rank this one. I had it at number 1. I loved this whole scene where he first escapes. You see him running through the backyards, and this couple is breaking up over the number of dogs. And the one lady's just like, it's too many dogs. And then you see him run by, and there's just dogs that's chasing him. And then he tries to get over the fence. And then he finds a girl, and he's like, tries to tell her the story about how he's being chased by a dog, and his friend murdered somebody, but he's trying to save him with acting. And can you order me an internet taxi? And I just loved that whole thing. At number 4, we're staying in 710N. And this is the scene where NoHo Hank talks with our boy Mitch at Mitch's Beignets. Jamie G had this at 11. I had it at 4.
Hey dude, look, I know we just met, but you seem like kind of rad. My shit's about to franchise. We could run this business together.
Yeah. I might need a few days to, mull that over.
So, Wednesday?
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Late?
Needless to say, Jamie G, one of the big problems here was just how do you rank the Mitch scenes, right? Like, what order do you put them in? That was not easy, right?
It wasn't easy, and I like, honestly, I could have had the 3 or 4 Mitch scenes all in a row, and then it's like, okay, well, I don't want to just have my top 5, 3 or 4 of them be Mitch scenes. So I just kind of had to. It almost came down to like throw a fucking dart at the board because they're all great, bro. They're all great. Every single one was fantastic. So don't think my 11 is downplaying how much I appreciated Mitch's talk with NoHo Hank, because it's not at all.
Yeah, absolutely. He did have the advantage of like Mitch offered to like partner up with him, and Hank wanted him, and he's like, yeah, so like Wednesday. Loved all of everything with Mitch. At number 3, we have the scene where Barry calls detonate customer support. This is from All the Sauces. Eventually he figures out he's supposed to turn the Wi-Fi off to make the detonation happen. You had this at number 2. I had it at 10.
First, let's make sure you have the latest version of Detonate installed on your phone.
I do.
Okay. Is the Bluetooth on?
Yes.
Huh. Okay. I'm gonna put you on a quick hold. Is your Wi-Fi on?
Is my Wi-Fi on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, try turning it off and see if that helps.
Turn the Wi-Fi off. Turning Wi-Fi off.
Alright, sounds like we were successful. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
At number 2, we have the scene where Batir is live streaming with the elders back home when the cops and the Bolivians show up at plants. This is in Crazy Time Shit Show. This is, in fact, the scene that the episode gets its name from. We both had it in our top 3. Jamie G, you had it at 3. I had it at 2.
But dude, this is Crazy Time Shit Show. You are not.
This is just fucking wonderful. And shout out on Michael Ironside, who showed up as the head elder. And at number 1, finally, we have a scene that, again, both in our top 3. And this is, again, from 710N, where Barry dictates a message to Sally while shopping for clothes. And it was really just a matter of, does this want to be your favorite scene or your favorite quote? Or is it going to be both? This was pretty major here with the double deuces between us here.
Parentheses. Yelling at you at work, comma, offering to break into your boss's house, comma, take sleeping pictures of her, etc., etc. End parentheses, wincing emoji.
This looks nice and it's 40% off. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to do acting anymore. I found a new community with my Marine friends. I'm trying to move forward by going into the past like Marty McFly, LOL. Sir, you're talking too loud. Shit, I'm sorry. Just please be quacky, shame Jonas Brothers, ha ha fresh. Sally, I understand if you do not want to talk to me again. I will 5 you spaceship, brittle teeth in the sunshine. Barry.
Jamie G, any thoughts about, our number 1 overall scene, Barry dictating the text message, which she eventually reads out loud to Lindsay in the lobby of the Banshee offices?
Absolutely hilarious. One of the funniest things and just total complete Barry things you could kind of describe when trying to have a conversation about the show to somebody who's never watched it. Just go ahead and tell them the scene. Absolutely hilarious. Thought that it just kind of was a peak, kind of a quintessential moment of the season between Barry and Sally, with where they both kind of went and came to, right? And this was kind of Barry's moment, and we see Sally with her moment as she's boarding a plane heading to Joplin later in the season. So loved it. It was hilarious. It was all the little side characters and things that are going on while he's doing this just made this from good to great. And yeah, can't say enough good stuff about it, bro.
I mean, all I can really say is I will 5 you spaceship, brittle teeth in the sunshine. What else is there to say?
What else is there to say? And speaking of amazing quotes like that, that brings us to our favorite quotes of the season. We went through over 100 quotes. Let me just repeat that. We went through over 100 quotes for you guys, and we each ranked at least 20 of them in order to give you our absolute best. You're welcome. This is for you, Mills.
And once again, we got a pretty clear top 5 in 2 honorable mentions. First honorable mention is from Ben Mendelsohn. Jamie G had it at 12. I had it at 14. This is Batir saying,
Just blow the fucking house. Good luck, Akmal.
What? What the fuck does it have to be me? Can't we draw straws?
Who are you? Bruce Willis in Armageddon?
I don't want to do this. This is crazy.
I know someone crazy.
Our other honorable mention is from Forgiving Jeff. Jamie G did not rank it. I had it at number 3. It's a very, very good one, and you'll see why right now.
I've forgiven you. I forgive you.
Forgiveness has to be earned.
Then fucking earn it!
Now it's time for our top 5 quotes from season 3 of Barry. Number 5 is again from Ben Mendelsohn. Jamie G had it at 8. I had it at 15. And this is a little Gene True Hollywood Story when he's talking to Brian, who was apparently a PA on Murder, She Wrote.
Hey, do you remember me? Murder, She Wrote. I was a PA. You attacked me.
I need more.
You threw hot tea in my face because your omelet had chives.
Was I playing a priest?
Very honored to have you on the show.
How great is this for Gene? And again, every time they gave us a little teaser of the Gene True Hollywood story of just what an animal he was in the industry back in the day, it worked, dude. It was a home run every time. This was a great example of it.
Honestly, if they all of a sudden season 4 is just a flashback season to like the Gene True Hollywood stories when Annie was doing her crazy play and the fuck thing or whatever, like, yeah, I would probably be okay with that. Even if it's, they could either cast younger actors as long as they're good, or even just like dress these people up in like bad wigs and 70s clothes and say, fuck it, we got Henry Winkler, let him do the damn thing. And number 4 is from 710N. Jamie G had this one at number 2. I had it at 20. And this is between Albert and the Big Cat. Albert says,
You think Rumpelstiltskin over here could take out a whole monastery of goons all by himself? No, I ain't buying it. No. No. Our guy's highly trained. He's probably like ex-military.
Well, how do we know Rumpelstiltskin over here isn't some kind of badass? I mean, look at his jacket, right? It's leather and it's cool.
How great was Big Cat? That's one side character that we didn't kind of give any love to earlier on this podcast. I am going to take a moment here and I'm going to give all the love to Big Cat. Big Cat was a hilarious addition. He had Will Ferrell-esque energy. I thought it was really, really, really cool. And he had a bunch of great quotes, and any of them deserve to be in the top 20. This one to me worked really well, and I liked it because Albert was kind of a big deal, and this was like the big deal of Albert mixed with the humor of Big Cat. Just fantastic.
And honestly, it's not easy to pronounce Rumpelstiltskin so cool. I mean, the Big Cat definitely getting it done. Number 3 is from Limonada, and it's another Gene True Hollywood story. Jamie G had this at 17. I had it at 2.
I need you to cast my acting teacher.
There's a process here.
His name is Gene Cousineau.
Gene Cousineau? That's your acting teacher?
That's the guy that brought the loaded gun to the Full House audition?
Yeah, when Allison didn't cast him on Family Ties, he called her a donkey witch.
Everybody deserves a second chance.
And I'm going to use the term donkey witch more in my real life. I feel like it's fairly insulting while still being, not really frowned upon. So I like that one. Going to work with it. For number 2, we're going to go back to 710N. This is a quote that Jamie G had at 7. I had at 6. And it's from Mitch when he says,
Yeah, I used to be a baker at this kick-ass churro shop in Eagle Rock. And it's cushy as fuck. Like, I could have rode that shit forever. But I knew I had to level up to beignets.
All the Mitch. That's all. I mean, that's it. It's all the Mitch.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like trying to think, what kind of t-shirt can we get to do the Barry podcast next season? And it's probably going to be something from Mitch's beignets. Everyone's going to be like, you should probably say Barry podcast on the t-shirt. Like, nah, fuck it. We're just Mitch. People are going to have to know. If you don't know, you're not cool. But if you know, then you're like instant friends. You see my Mitch beignets t-shirt across the bar and you know what's up. Best friends for life, just like that. And we're going to stay right with 710 and for our number 1 quote. We both had this at number 1, and I don't think this is really a surprise. And this is Barry's text to Sally, and it is just amazing. This looks nice, and it's 40% off. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to do acting anymore. I found a new community with my Marine friends. I'm trying to move forward by going into the past like Marty McFly. Lol. Sir, you're talking too loud. Shit, I'm sorry. Please, Quacky, shame, Jonas Brothers, haha, fresh. Sally, I understand if you do not want to talk to me again. I will 5 spaceship, brittle teeth in the sunshine, Barry. And then Lindsay tells her, Jesus Christ, you dodged a bullet.
It's just so good. It's just so good.
And the reactions of all the people in the store while he's dictating this message via speakerphone, and they all turn and look at him. Again, and someone had some technology problems on this show. The Bluetooth problems, the thing with detonate customer support. someone in the writers' room definitely had a technology thing against people too. Like same thing, like A, against the people who dictate text messages via speakerphone in public places, and B, the fact that the phone still fucks them up so badly.
What a great quote, a great moment. That brings us to our season 3 power rankings. We each ranked our top 10 characters for the season in order to give you our top 5, dead or alive. Whoever finishes at number 1 will officially be our Greek freak of assassins, our MVP of season 3.
And once again here, pretty clear top 5 with 2 honorable mentions. First honorable mention is Jim Moss, Master Interrogator. Jamie G ranked him at number 5. I ranked him at number 9. And we have Faye from Detonate, who Jamie G ranked at number 2, and I put it number 10. I don't want to make you defend it, but you did put your number 2 character of the show in a voice on a phone for one scene. So that must be really impactful, right? Like that's what you hear. You hear Faye from Detonate in your head when you fall asleep at night, right? I'm assuming.
Bro, Faye from Detonate was so enjoyable, so impacting that I am trying to figure out a way to get her own show. Faye from Detonate was fantastic. I just thought, honestly, dude, she wins. Like, out of a super dark show, she is an absolute winner. And anytime I call anywhere and I don't get Faye, I'm disappointed. Called Verizon the other day. Did I get Faye? No, not even close. Call American Airlines. You think you're going to get Faye? Not even close. She deserves it for me, Magnum Mills.
All the Faye. I mean, I had her at 10, and so it's not like she was chopped liver to me. That brings us to our top 5. At number 5, we have Krista Ball. Jamie had him at 4. I had him at 6. In number 4, we have Natalie. I had her at 2. Jamie G at 7. I feel Natalie was a big winner in season 3. Then we have a tie for number 2 between the one, the only NoHo Hank. Jamie G had him at 3. I had him at 4. And Gene Cousineau, Jamie G had down at 6, and I had it number 1 because, again, as I've alluded to, on the inside, maybe Gene is somewhat conflicted, but on the outside, he won this season. He's flipped his position completely from where he started, where he needed revenge and he was down and out. Now he's in it to win it, and he got revenge. And number 1, maybe not with a bullet, but with a beignet, is our man Mitch. Jamie G had him at 1. I had him at 3. I feel like he was only in 3 scenes, so 3 was as high as I could go. I would give him 1 if I could. You just said, fuck it, I can, because it's our show. We can make the fucking rankings whatever we want. So, Jamie G, I'm not asking you to defend yourself why you put Mitch at 1. Just keep telling everyone why Mitch is so awesome.
You would be hard-pressed to find a better moment from this season, which, by the way, it's an incredible season. Season 3 of Barry is really good. Like, really good, but Mitch added such an amazing perspective and such a great character and lightened up, which out of all the seasons of Barry, all 3, I think it was the best season, but I also think it was the darkest. So it really needed a Mitch, and it really needed the Fernando. Like, it really needed Mitch. Mitch fucking crushed. When I was looking at this, most of my scenes, most of my quotes, it all came down to the Mitch scenes. He only had 3 of them, but the fact that they were that good. So for me, he's the clear-cut winner. Even though Gene ended this season, theoretically on paper in a high space, I still think he's fucked in the head. I don't know that he's really happy. And Mitch, dude, Mitch leveled up. He's living his life, bro. He was like, nah. He had to level up to beignets.
We all need to level up to beignets. I mean,
Yes,
has
we
Mitch
do.
reached that level? Shout out the actor, Tom Allen. He hasn't been in a lot of other stuff, but he's already at the level of, like, if I see that this dude's in something, I'm going to watch it, right? Just like, oh shit, Mitch is in that. You have to, right? Like, he's already on that level.
Yes.
I have to know what Mitch is going to do next.
Yes, I'm following Mitch. I like Mitch. Anything he does, I'm in. Just, again, fantastic element to what was an outstanding season.
All right, well, let's see here, because we both really like Mitch, and I wonder if that was our favorite episode of the season, because I think it's time now that we look at the grades we handed out, because each episode of season 3 of Barry we gave a grade to. It was based on the scale of 1 to 10 Fonzies. Hey, 10 being this super Fonzie. Shout out Henry Winkler, Gene Cousineau himself. And I know we're not Roddy T's, but we do our best. We're just going to go over our grades and kind of, confirm what we had for our overall favorite episode of the season. And then see if, hey, is that still our favorite episode looking back on it? And are there any episodes that we were maybe too down on or too high on? Let's start with episode 1, Forgiving Jeff. Jamie G gave it 8.5 Fonzies. I gave it 9. Episode 2, Limonada. Jamie G gave it 9.0 Fonzies. I gave it 8.8. Episode 3, Ben Mendelsohn. Jamie G gave it 8.5 Fonzies. I gave it 8.2. Episode 4, All the Sauces we fucking loved. Jamie G gave it 9.9 Fonzies. I gave it 9.8 Fonzies. Episode 5, Crazy Time Shit Show. Jamie G gave it 8.7. I gave 8.8. Episode 6, 710N. Jamie G gave 9.1 Fonzies. I gave 9.0. Episode 7, Candy Asses. Jamie G gave 8.3. I gave 9.0 Fonzies. And finally, the season finale, episode 8, Starting Now. Jamie G gave 8.7 Fonzies, and I gave it 9.3 Fonzies. And that means for the season, Jamie G had an average of 8.84 Fonzies per episode, and I had an episode of 8.99 Fonzies per episode, for an overall average of 8.91 A's per episode. So pretty good, damn near like a 90% overall. It's pretty obvious that we enjoyed the season. Jamie G, All the Sauces, 9.9. Still your favorite or no?
First of all, that's a whole lot of A's. But yes, what I think when it comes down to it, you start thinking about some of the episodes that we kind of ranked higher. You go back through and you watch them. I think there were moments from 710 North or 710N that were amazing. That was Mitch, that was all. But when I look at the whole episode, I still think All the Sauces was the best episode from start to finish. And I stand by that. I'm really proud of that 9.9. Looking back, I think all of these could have very easily been 8.8 to 9.2 every single episode. Even the one I ranked at 8.3 with Candy Asses, that was mostly because I didn't like all of a sudden Fuchs is just alive after being shot in the chest. But again, you look at this, I think all of them could have been kind of around that high 80s, low 90s range. But for me, Magnum Mills, I'm going to stand by All the Sauces being my favorite episode of the season, of a great season.
That's very fair. I'm pretty much in the same ballpark. Obviously, I mean, we gave out 8 grades. I only had 2 that weren't between 8.8 and 9.3. Like, I really kind of lived in that range. And I think a lot of the problems we had with particular episodes were basically plot related. Like, there was just something that didn't make sense to the point where it was hard to overlook it. Even like the Fuchs thing, the rest of the episode is great, but it's just like, damn, it felt cheap kind of. And there a couple times it maybe didn't feel cheap, but it felt like a little bit of a cop out, or they were just like, we want this to happen because it is the best thing for the characters and the development in the story, even if it doesn't make sense. And I think in the long run, that's the way to go. So we look back on it more forgivingly now. It's like Forgiving Jeff, right? Looking back, we enjoyed the season so much. We're like, that makes sense that they kind of took some shortcuts where they had to give us the story they wanted to give, instead of making yourself jump through hoops so that, someone on the internet can be like, oh, well, this doesn't quite match up with this scene, or, I think they did the right thing. I will say that I was probably a little bit too down on 710. And again, I think that's because, like you said, there was a couple of plot things. Retrospectively, I would probably bump that one up more closer to like a 9.3 to 9.5 in that range, just because there were so many things that I enjoyed from that episode that came up when we were doing this, as far as favorite moment, favorite scene, character development stuff. It was obviously an important episode, so I feel like maybe I sold it a little bit short. That's pretty much it. You heard we basically came in right around a 9 overall out of 10 for the season. So we got to give it a grade for the actual season. The 9 feels fair, but I'm going to go up to a 9.2. I'm going to forgive a little bit. This is basically a forgiveness grade for some of the plot mechanic stuff. I liked where it ended up overall, so I'm going to retroactively forgive a little bit of that, bump it up, give it 9.2 Fonzies for the season. I do wish there had been a little bit more comedy, but I'm not going to punish it for that, because I mean, it was still really, really well done and especially well acted. And the show really even looked great, sounded great, all that stuff. Again, my only complaint really is just, some of the plot mechanics. Jamie G, give me some Fonzies for season 3 of Barry.
Man, and we don't give out A's like anybody's business here, okay? We take it very serious. It's a sacred thing to give out a A. So I'm going to say this, Magnum Mills. There is no forgiving Jeff, but there is forgiving Barry. This season was fantastic. I'm right there with you, bro. I'm going to match it. 9.2 Fonzies. Hey, 9.2 times. This was fantastic. This was a great season. The show has matured into something that I really, really, really like. It was really good season 1, season 2. Season 3, let me tell you, really good. I mean, this thing was fantastic, and they deserve it. And especially given some of the challenges they faced with COVID kind of behind the scenes of both filming this, rewriting it, all the stuff that kind of went in to kind of tweaking this thing, to giving us this product, all that included in this, it could probably even be higher. But I'm really happy, really confident with 9.2. This was a ton of fun doing the Barry podcast, and really looking forward to season 4.
I mean, that really wraps up our coverage of season 3. We are going to be back to do an initial season 4 speculation joint, because we want to do one now and then check back in on it when it comes time for season 4 to drop. And we also might circle back around. Maybe we'll cover some of Hater's other stuff. Maybe we'll rewatch some old episodes that we didn't podcast about, because I think Barry's going to be a show that holds up very well on the rewatch. So keep it right here. Season 3 might be over, but the Barry podcast is not.
It definitely is not. And if you have any feedback or any ideas whatsoever about what you might want to hear next, holler at us. Let us know. Drop a comment on our YouTube channel. Hit us up on social media. Send your feedback to berrypodcast@gmail.com. That's right. We're Barry Podcast. It's fucking easy. Get at us. Thanks for checking out the Barry Podcast. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate you. Please remember, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, all that good stuff. Magnum Mills, tell these wonderful people where they can find all of our other content, which happens to be equally as awesome and just as free.
We're still working on the Mitch endorsement, but we're going to get it. Trust me. It's the most important endorsement we could get. Thank you for checking out the Barry Podcast. Once again, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your pods, just search for Barry Podcast. On social media at Barry Podcast. We're from the Joe Blow Football Show, which is where you can find our YouTube channel. Just go to joeblowfootballshow.com. You could please subscribe so you don't miss anything else, because we cover a lot of fun stuff. Thanks again for checking out the Barry Podcast. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. Hopefully you enjoyed this, but if you didn't, you don't need to worry. I'm pretty sure that people can change, and people should probably try to change, except Mitch. He's perfect the way he is.
And always remember to turn off the Wi-Fi before you press the detonate button. We love you, Faye.
This has been the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. This show is for entertainment purposes only. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with Barry, HBO, Alec Berg Inc., Han Arpley, or Warner Brothers Television. The views here are those of the host only, and they do not reflect those of any other person, organization, or entity. Thanks again for tuning in, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next episode.